door on the inside was frosted.
You know what that means, right? Mr. Freeze is hanging around your neighborhood. Chill.
Chill.
Chill
Okay.
out.
I'm a
Chill
cop,
out.
you idiot.
So, welcome back to Not a Strong Start, a podcast by filmmakers who talk movies, television, and do very bad Arnold Schwarzenegger impressions.
Oh yeah,
I'm
those
your
were pretty
host.
bad.
Those are pretty bad.
I thought mine was pretty good, dude.
Yeah, pretty good at being bad.
Exactly.
Let me see yours. Let me see yours, actor.
Hey, we were all bad at it. I admitted it.
I didn't
Who's
even
your
hear
daddy
yours.
and
That's
what
how
does
bad
he
it
do?
was. If you did it,
There you go.
yeah, you did it, and I didn't even hear it. That's how bad it was.
I said it in the frequency that your ears don't pick up.
Like a dog whistle.
Yeah.
I am your host, in the mouth of Danis.
I am. Why won't you love me?
I don't know what that's from. I'm 30 Nights of Chuck.
What is why won't you love me? Where is that from?
I'm glad you asked. It actually has to do with our topic for today, when we're going to be talking about movies that just don't get enough love, in our
Thank
opinion.
you. See?
So,
Jose again. With the segue. I gotta Photoshop him on a segue and get a thing going.
Chuck teed me up. He hit it up. I just had to spike it down.
There you go, man.
You used like three different sport analogies right now. He teed it up, and I spiked it down. I'm like, what?
It's the trifecta of sports,
Yeah.
man. First, we're gonna hit him with the current event.
After actually running some tests and some experiments as part of the 25 years since Titanic special, James Cameron has come out and admitted that there is a possibility that Jack could have survived if they both sat on the door.
Oh my God. We knew this, but his excuse was dumb, because I remember before when they asked him, he would just say, what was it, like engineers or something, or like, no, there's definitely enough time. I mean, there's enough space and enough weight. And he's like, no, that's just bad prop design. It doesn't work for the story. He's like, okay. But now he's saying that he could have sat on it.
Yeah, see, we all knew this.
Yeah.
But James Cameron, who tends to come off like he feels he's smarter than everyone else, and I mean, he's been successful, so some can argue that maybe he is smarter than a lot of people. He's finally admitting that, like, all right, maybe that wasn't too accurate. Like, there is a possibility that he could have survived if they both sat on the door.
This kind of makes Kate Winslet a villain, doesn't it? Wouldn't you say, Chuck?
Oh, yeah.
I thought she always was.
I mean, she is now, man. So I got it. So how are they going to prove it? He just admitted, yes, he could have sat on it?
No, I guess they ran tests already. He had people coming in, and I haven't seen it, but I guess it's part of that 25 years since Titanic like special. They had I don't know if it was like a pool or something, and they had a prop piece of wood, and they had people come in and actually try different things to see if they can both be on the door. And that's what finally got him to admit, like, hey, it's possible.
Okay, here was my thing about this. Okay, here's what I always felt. Even if it wasn't possible for them both to share it, they could have swapped. You could have took turns. You could have let him get on there, warm himself up a little bit while she's in the water, and then swap back out.
She's always the villain. Didn't she throw the jewel into the ocean at the end?
Yes, after they spent the whole time looking for her and spent probably millions to billions of dollars. Yeah.
And she was a liar, because she literally did the opposite of what she said she was going to say. She said, "I'll never let you go," and she let him go.
And didn't she show up with our boy Billy Zane on the ship?
I mean, Billy Zane is, a cinema villain here. Not in person. He's a very nice guy in person.
No, he wasn't. He didn't let us touch him, but we did anyway.
We were just like Kate. We didn't listen.
Yeah.
No. Anyways.
But yeah, you're so in love with this guy, Jack. You can't, when you get rescued, you can't bring his body like with you. Kind of hold on to him, let him get brought on. Give him a proper burial. You're like, oh no, you're cold.
She dropped him just like she dropped the freaking jewel at the end, dude. She don't care.
She don't care. You know why, Jose? She was probably negative 21 degrees like it is outside on your facility door.
I saw this this thing on Instagram where it was like the 25 years of Titanic, and like what everybody looks like now. And it was like Leo, Kate, Billy Zane, a few other characters. Then they showed the old lady, like they showed her first.
Oh
And then the
no.
next clip was her like all skeleton and stuff, like all
That's what I was gonna know. Like I thought they were gonna show a tombstone or something like that.
yeah, no, it
I
was
mean,
like all like
that would have been
decomposed
class.
and stuff. It wasn't even scale, it was like all brown and black. It was pretty good.
At least mine would have been classy. Like, oh, at least you showed a tombstone. No, they're showing you an archaeological dig. So put on that. But as Jose said, in this week's episode, we're going to talk about movies that we feel are just not appreciated enough. What kind of goes into your decision, Jose? How did you kind of put together your list?
Well, it can fit into multiple categories. I looked at it either movies that weren't received by the audience well when they came out. They're good movies, but for some reason they just didn't pick up traction overall. And not many. I also picked movies that people just don't talk about a lot or bring up when they're talking about good movies from certain genres. So it can be any of those, or maybe movies that were good and just commercially didn't do well, so they're not out there. So that's kind of how I shape my decisions.
Okay. How about you, Chuck?
I went with okay, so I like some dumb stuff. So it's not anything that I feel like, okay, this is what I like Mandy or House. It's like, okay, that's it. There are movies that I think most people would like that I think are really good that they just haven't seen. And it mostly goes by like conversations I have, like, oh, have you seen this movie? Nah. And I'm like, really? Like, you should watch it. It's good.
Do you judge him right there when he went, nah? Like, is
Like,
that you immediately judging them for not seeing it?
it is. And then I
Because
almost
that's
am
your
like,
judging eye.
I'm like,
I've seen that eye.
yeah.
That's your judging eye.
I've seen it too in the mirror a lot, you know. And yeah, so that's what I went with. I went with like a movie that I think is really good. That's not something stupid that I like, but something that I think people should watch that they would enjoy. So that's what I went with.
For me, it might be some that people haven't seen, but also shows some movies that maybe they have seen, but I just really like it. And maybe some of them are talked a little negatively, whereas I think they're a little better than just being like mocked at in a certain sense. But you'll see a little bit of what I mean. So you guys want to go on the first?
I feel like this is a topic where we're gonna have a variety of different movies between all three of us. It's not one of those where we're gonna have the same movies for every genre. So this should be interesting.
It is. And I'm really curious to see how, because this is exactly you said, it's interesting. So how does somebody else rank it as underrated? Because it could still be a somewhat popular movie, but maybe take something like RoboCop, right? RoboCop is known, but if Chuck was to say it's a underappreciated action movie, you can make a case for that because now every time you hear RoboCop, it's people just using that little gif of him freaking out and his remember that where he's like and he's like short circuiting. They just use it to mock it, but when you watch it, it's good. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it depends on how you spin this for us. So let's start with the first category. So first, let's start off with let's go horror.
I'm going with my favorite movie. I'm going with An American Werewolf in London. And I'm not saying people don't know it or whatever, but the people I talk to, like, hey, have you seen this movie? And they're like, no, you know, and I'm like, how have you not seen it? It's one of the best like horror movies of all time. And not only that, it was one of like, not if it was one of the first, but early on, like a horror comedy, a dark comedy. And still to this day, I think that movie came out in 81. It still has the best werewolf transformation in any movie.
Absolutely.
And it's so good. It's my comfort movie. It's badass.
Yeah, it is. How many badasses?
5.
It is a good movie. I've seen it. I've enjoyed it, but it's also not one that I hear brought up by the general audience, the general public.
That's
so
what it is.
I think that makes it a movie. It just doesn't get enough love.
Yeah, and that's true because most horror heads have seen it and definitely know about it. I think the average viewer doesn't, and the fact that it's older anyways, there's no way that these younger generation has seen that movie unless they're horror heads or they have influences like us in their lives to force it down their throats. So, yes.
Yeah.
In the mouth of Danness.
For me, I'm going to have to go with one that First of all, I was really surprised as this was a WWE production. It was under them, but it's
Mm,
the horror movie Oculus.
mm.
I felt this movie doesn't get a lot of attention. It was really good. It was one of those movies that just kind of messes with your mind throughout. Where as you're watching it, they do a good job of keeping you on your toes on like, is this real? Is this not real? Are they imagining it? All that happening, and I feel like it's able to sustain that through the end and be entertaining. It has what's her name, Karen Gillan or Gillan.
Oh,
She was
from Jumanji? You talking about that one, the redhead?
Yes, she was from
Yeah.
Jumanji, and then
And
the
Guardians.
Guardians. So
Oh,
it has her in it, and I think it's a really good movie, worth to check out. Usually, it pops up on streaming here and there in all different streaming services. Have you guys seen that one?
yeah, it's good. It's scary. It's the same dude that did Doctor Sleep, all those haunted mansion movies on Netflix.
Scary movie?
Oh, like the Bly Manor,
Yeah, and the
the
other
Oh,
Haunting
and the
of
other
that
Bly
one
one.
Manor.
Yeah.
and the other
Yeah, the
one.
house on Haunting
Yeah,
Hill.
he
Yeah.
he did that. Yeah.
So I was gonna go with Mouth of Madness, but I didn't. Instead, I went with The Frighteners. So The Frighteners, directed by Peter Jackson.
Original?
No, I'm going with the Peter Jackson one. I don't know. Is there a redo of that one, or did he redo it
No,
as
there's an
something
older
else?
one from like the 50s or 60s or something like
Oh
that.
no, I didn't. I'm going with this one. It's classic Michael J. Fox in the lead with it, who's so good in it. It even has Gary Busey's son in it, so he plays the
Jake
villain,
Busey.
Jake
Yeah.
Busey. But it's a good one, man. It's another horror comedy. I liked it. I remember when it first came out, I saw it in theaters, and I enjoyed it, man. It's a fun watch. It's not super scary, but I mean, I guess it can be to kids. The villain, Jake Busey, it can be scary if you're like a kid watching it, but it's a fun watch. I enjoyed it, and I love Michael J. Fox, man. He's got that charisma. You know what I mean? So I wish we would have been able to see more projects out of him, in his later years, but I appreciate the ones that he came out with, and The Frighteners was a good one. Next category, let's go with sci-fi. Jose, let's start off with you.
I'm gonna have to go with Edge of Tomorrow. With Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. Uh, really good sci-fi movie and action movie on top of that, but mostly sci-fi. And I feel like it did well, but even when they talk about Tom Cruise movies, this isn't one that gets mentioned, overall. And it was a movie that's entertaining beginning to end, has a cool little concept to it, and it just doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. And I think
Question
Chuck will agree on this one.
question for you, Jose. So you say
Mhm.
it should be when they reference the top Tom Cruise movies. Would you put it in his top 5?
No, no, no. I didn't say
I
when you
would.
talk. I'm saying when they're talking about Tom Cruise, this doesn't get brought up. I'm not saying it's one of his
Because
top movies,
because
but
usually when they do, they usually mention their top 3 or 5 movies. That's why I'm asking. So if they were to
yeah,
bring it up, then what movie would you take out? That's my
no.
question.
If I were to do, for me personally, Tom Cruise movies that were the most entertaining, this would be
Mhm.
in the top 10.
Top 10. Okay, but not
I would
top
go.
5.
I would go top five. I would go top
Could
five,
be.
but only if I'm counting Mission Impossible as one movie.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I
All
I
right,
am
then
too, because
yes.
that's not fair.
Then
There's too
yes.
many of those.
Yeah.
Condense it. Okay. Then yes, I'd
Then
put
yeah,
it.
then yes, yeah, then it probably for me personally will go into the top
If
5.
you did it, do you think what are the chances that Jose's top 5 are all Mission Impossible movies?
I think they are.
At least 4 out of
No,
the 5, I'm gonna say yes. 3, 4,
no,
5, and 6 are in it.
Yeah,
no, because I got
his top five is all the Mission Impossibles and Tropic Thunder. Yours are all Mission Impossible and Magnolia, and mine is all all Mission Impossible
And Edge of Tomorrow.
and Minority Report.
So
yeah. See,
that's why it doesn't get referenced, because we all have something else. Although Eyes Wide Shut, shout out to Eyes Wide Shut. That's a good one too.
that movie stresses me out.
It's stressful, isn't it? And like
Yes,
it's anxiety building. You're saying like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And then as they
yeah,
get closer to his life, it's like I feel like they're attacking me, and I'm looking over my shoulder.
dude, I'm like looking at my girl. I'm all,
Mm-hmm.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
That guy that we saw at freaking Kmart earlier. Yeah, you were looking at him. I saw you.
Yep, dude. Those masks. When I see masks of people dressed up like that at Halloween, I'm always like, ugh, it's like a little shudder, a little bit PTSD. No. Anyways, let's go with your choice.
I'm going Children of Men.
Good
It's
one.
just a phenomenal movie. Has one of the best one-shot little action sequences ever. With the car and the bike and shooting and Julianne Moore. But it's it's almost perfect. It's almost a perfect movie. And I don't think a lot of people have seen it. Like I'm like, oh, I showed it to my nephew and my mom like a couple months ago. I'm like, dude, Children of Men. They're like, and I'm like, just watch it. Give it like 20 minutes. Dude, they were hooked. They
Because
were like,
that opening scene gets you immediately. So I went with Galaxy Quest. I love Galaxy Quest. It's great comedy. It's, in my opinion, it's Tim Allen's best work outside the Toy Story, but it's so good, man. I'm not somebody that really loved Star Trek growing up, but this is like as close as you can get. And I thought, again, I didn't see the Star Trek movie, so I'm completely biased, but I thought it was better than most of the Star Trek movies. Once J.J. Abrams came out with his version, I'm like, okay, these Star Trek movies are pretty legit. But I mean, Galaxy Quest was funny, man. Explaining it to the people that hasn't seen it. So it's a TV cast that had like their own Star Trek type show that gets sent into space to really solve. Basically, it's Three Amigos, but in space. Next category, let's go with action.
I'm gonna have to go with the remake of Dread.
I just saw that the other day too.
It actually was pretty good, and remakes can be hit or miss, but I think it did a good job of taking a very simple story, basically the same concept of like the Raid, or Raid Redemption, doing stuff, and they do a good job. And Carl Urban, he's Dread, and I think he does a good job of making the character his own and making it different from Stallone. And overall, that whole basically it's like the video game concept where you just kind of going through levels all the way up, like the Raid. It's that kind of concept with Judge Dredd.
Good. I saw it, but I was highly medicated. It was when I was super sick. So when I started watching it, I was getting into it, and I fell asleep, and I woke up, and it was the end credits. But that's not a testament to the movie. It was pretty good so far.
Yeah, it is a good movie. Snowpiercer.
Okay, good one.
That's a good one.
So why do you feel like it's why do you feel like it's underappreciated or not talked about enough?
I think that people have seen it, love it, but I just don't think a lot of people have seen it. And I know they came out with a TV show, and I think it lasted a couple of seasons. That is true, Jose. I think it was on TNT or something, or TBS. And once it was on there, I'm like, nah, I'm good. But it's the guy who did Parasite, right? And the host. And it's good. It has Chris Evans. And what's that girl's name?
Don't
She's
you
really
do
good.
this again. Don't you do this
I know.
again. You always do this. I mean,
Blonde girl.
I'm just
Tilda
editing
Swinton.
all this part. There you go.
She's awesome in it too. Back me up, guys. You seen it? It's good, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Absolutely.
We're just waiting for you to get your thoughts out. But no, that movie is really good, really underrated. I can see why they tried to adapt it into a show to kind of play off how good the movie was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's every couple of years or so I'll rewatch this movie because it's really entertaining.
Yeah, I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. You know what I mean? It was one of those ones I was casually playing, didn't really hear much about it, really liked it. Tilda Swinton is so good as an actress, and she plays such good villains. She was great in this movie, and yeah, man, liked it. Really good. Recommend it. My movie was Demolition Man. So this is one of those movies that I've talked about where people have seen it, but it gets ridiculed. And now the younger generations haven't seen it. And now when I see Instagram, when they reference it, it's usually just like the Taco Bell thing. Remember how Taco Bell survived the great fast food war. But people don't talk about how really a good movie it is, in my opinion. It's that cheesy, over the top, feels very 80s action, but Wesley Snipes is one of the best action villains in this movie. He's so good in it, and the action choreography is good in it. Sandra Bullock's really good in it. Even what's the name? Benjamin Pratt. He's good in it. Brat, right? Brat. Sounds like Brat. Brad.
Yeah, Benjamin Bratt. Yeah,
Yeah.
you like combine
Benjamin Bratt is really good
Chris
in this.
Pratt and Benjamin
It
Bratt.
did.
You're all
That's
Chris
why when I
Pratt.
said it,
You're
I
all
was like, that doesn't
Benjamin
sound
Pratt.
right.
I'm all. Nah.
No, it doesn't sound quite right. But he was the original one. Then Chris Pratt came in and took the name. But the movie was good, man. They even gave us a lot of iconic scenes or moments in it, like the three seashells that we still talk about now. So it's a movie that was very iconic, but kind of like how RoboCop is, it gets more those iconic moments are more used in just a joking manner and not really in reference to how solid the movie was and how long it lasted.
Yeah, it's been memed, pretty much. That's one
Yeah.
of the movies that I have found myself at times being like, oh man, I kind of wish they remade this one.
Yeah.
Especially with the technology now we do it. I know that there's rumors that have floated around over the last couple years that there's a planned sequel that's supposed to take place like 30 years after the incident of the first one. But I don't know if I want a sequel. I think I would want a remake, kind of redo it, give us a modernized version of it.
Yeah, it was a big deal when it came out because at that time Wesley Snipes was an action star hero and Stallone was a hero, and then you pitted them against each other and made Wesley Snipes the villain. It was kind of like, ooh, who am I going to go for? It wasn't just like I got Stallone because I didn't. I was going for Wesley Snipes, so I was like, always bet on black.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's good, man.
I was Team Snipes in that too.
Yeah, me too. And if they would have, if they were to redo it, it'd be cool to see it as like a TV show almost. You know what I mean? Not too many episodes, but like a little 8-episode run, mini series. Exactly. Give me like a little mini series. That'd be interesting, man. Because they gave us this world that there's so many things and possibilities you can play with, so many parts of the story that you can touch on. I'd want to see it.
I'm really surprised that we haven't gotten something, whether it's a remake, reboot, a sequel, and like all of this time, because again, so much possibility that's in that world. And we live in the
Society.
Hollywood world of remaking and redoing everything that I'm really surprised that this hasn't been done yet.
Let's go with drama. So who needs to go first? Chuck?
I'm not going to bust a Jose, even though I want to, because I had one, The Lobster, but I'm going to go with Warrior with Tom Hardy. MMA, man, got it. Come on.
Chuck has a type.
To me, and some of the viewers now are already questioning my sexuality. That's fine. And
not questioning.
Yeah, they're not questioning. They're pretty much
they made some accusations.
Yeah, which is fine. What did I say? Oh, Warrior. Yeah, it's very I got brothers, so it's like there's a huge conflict between the brothers and the dad. And it's just one of those movies that just makes you feel good at the end. And everything that you want to happen, like, happens. And it's emotional. Yeah, it's just a very emotional movie. I love it. And I know a lot of people haven't seen it, and they should. Warrior. Tom Hardy, Joel Egerton. Watch it.
What to say, I agree with most of the stuff that you said, except for one part. Everyone got like what they wanted at the end. So it's a great movie. It's such a good story, and it does a good job of creating this journey between two characters that are gonna end up meeting against each other at the end, where there's no clear good guy, bad guy in this. So it makes it a toss up. I wanted Tom Hardy's character to win at the end. So I didn't get what I wanted. But it's one of those where it was like you understand both their sides, and the movie does a good job of making that clear where it's not like, well, I have to root for this guy because he's good and the other guy is terrible and it's very obvious. You understand both sides. So it comes down to preference on who you want to win.
Yeah, and shout out to Nick Nolte. He was phenomenal in that. I think he got nominated for that too for an Academy. I'm pretty sure he did, but he was great.
If he didn't, he should have.
Like you said, shout out to Nick Nolte because this is more towards the end of his film career, and he still put in like a phenomenal performance. Tom Hardy, this was like in that span where he was like doing no wrong. You know what I mean? It was just on that start where he was putting in these A performances, man, and it seemed inevitable.
Pre-Venom. Pre-Venom Hardy.
Pre-Venom, exactly. It was, you knew he was on this path of being nominated, hopefully eventually winning, you know what I mean? Which we eventually did with eventually nominated with The Reverend, but really good, man. Really good stuff. The movie was really good. It added more validity to MMA films, I guess, or projects, I would say, because before they'd have damn, what's that bad movie make fun of you? What is it?
Never Back Down.
That one.
God, it's so good, dude.
They
Such
got
a
like
it's
four
not.
of those.
No,
They
it's
got like
not.
4 of those.
It's not so
that's
good.
definitely, and I should have remembered it when we did the episode, a guilty pleasure, because I know it's bad. I know it's bad, but damn, I
It's
love that
fun.
movie, dude.
So
And I
it's
can
fun.
watch it. Yeah, it's a fun movie, and
Yeah.
it's got a couple of fighting montages where he's working out, and then they're doing their fighting, and he's got his shirt off. Like it's
I would give you this. That last fight was pretty good. When they're
yeah.
fighting outside, that was a pretty good fight.
In the unrated version, there's nudity a lot.
No comment. So the movie that I went with was Glengarry Glen Ross. So it's a
I
good.
haven't seen this.
Have you seen it yet, Chuck? No, you haven't.
Yes, I have. It's the
Have
guy.
you?
It's with the guy, and he plays a piano, and he ends up, and it's a girl, but it ends up being a woman.
That's the pianist.
I combined 2 movies: The
No.
Pianist
No, I'm
and
kidding.
The Crying Game.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's the Crying Game. Like, that's an
Crying
entirely different
Game.
movie. This is Glengarry Glen Ross. So this is basically what it is. It's based off of a play, but it's got phenomenal actors in it. Al Pacino. Al Pacino delivers a great performance. You also have Kevin Spacey. Before the accusations came out, give a very, very good performance. Jack Lemmon does a really good performance in this, but Alec Baldwin, the whole famous scene of Alec Baldwin, he's in one scene of the movie, but it's so damn iconic that people still quote that lines. The ABCs always be closing, and the whole coffee's for closers. The movie's so iconic, and you have these phenomenal actors that seem like they just keep trying to outduel each other in terms of performance. So if you want to watch a very, very well acted movie, Glengarry Glen Ross, really good. I love acting, and for somebody like Jose, you should watch it. So as an actor, I think you'll appreciate the acting involved with it, because sometimes you may have stories or movies that just focus a lot on story or focus a lot on action, or like Never Back Down, you're looking for the fight scenes. Sometimes you want to just sit back and really enjoy the art of acting.
For my drama, I'm gonna have to go with something I actually just rewatched a couple of weeks ago and just remembered how good this movie is. All-star cast, Hell or High Water. Has
Okay.
Chris Pine, Jeff Bridges, Ben Foster. I don't hear enough people talking about this movie, and this movie is so good. The acting is phenomenal. The story is very well written. You're completely engaged from the beginning to the end. You know, it starts off right away. A robbery is happening, like right from the start. They're just getting you right into it, and it just kind of keeps going from there. And like Ben Foster is an actor who I don't think gets enough credit for the
Underrated.
skill that he
Yeah.
has. He's a scene stealer. I've never seen a bad Ben Foster performance, regardless of the movie. And this is another gem on Ben Foster's side. And then Jeff Bridges and Chris Pine, you know what they bring to the table. So anyone who hasn't seen Hell or High Water, I definitely a recommended watch for the drama category.
Yeah, Ben Foster is completely underappreciated. The man needs more roles, needs to be talked about more often. Chris Pine, this was one of the performances where I really saw the range of Chris Pine, because before, I would see him like in Star Trek or movies like that, where he's more like this charismatic charmer.
He wasn't
In
Chris
this,
Pine. He was that guy. He was the guy. He wasn't Chris Pine. He was the guy.
yeah,
Whatever his name was, he was the guy.
yeah.
Toby. I think Toby Howard.
Toby Wong.
Yeah.
Freaking Charlie Chan. No.
Next category. Let's go with suspense or thriller.
I'm gonna have to go. I believe it's still on Netflix. There's a movie called The Invitation. This is not the vampire invitation movie. I think that came out like last year. It's a little older, but it's, again, not too many people know about it. I didn't even know about it when I checked it out. I just looked at it on the whim, but it ended up being a really good suspense thriller. Basically, general concept is this guy gets invited to a party. Things become awkward. There's paranoia kicking in, and there's a nice little twist of what's going on and happening in it. It's hard to explain without actually giving anything away, but it's worth checking out. Yeah, The Invitation. Have you guys seen this?
I don't think so. Who's in it?
It's actually no one big.
No one. I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's no one major. I think it's on Netflix. Like I said, I stumbled upon it by accident, where I was just kind of looking for something that was like, seen this. Oh, haven't seen this. Netflix says it's a 98% for me, so let me check it out.
Can you believe that, Chuck? He hadn't seen it? Are you shocked?
I'm shocked. It's kind of a late admission for me because I wasn't really sure, so I don't know if it's gonna fly or not. But 10 Cloverfield Lane,
I'll count it.
Yeah, I don't know that a lot of people saw it. At least people that I know, they're like, "What? What's that?" And I'm like, "It's a sequel. it's not a sequel to Cloverfield Lane, but it's
in the same universe.
Cloverfield, sorry. Yeah, the same universe, and it's like very suspenseful, like and thrilling, and suspenseful, and badass.
John Goodman was amazing.
Yeah.
No, John Goodman is, dude. He was back. Yeah, he's back. Right at that moment, at that time when it came out, and you didn't know. Like, I mean, I think I knew because we know movie stuff. You know that it was a sequel or in the same universe. But people like who just why they're like, what is this? Like, they weren't really advertising it as a sequel to Cloverfield. No. And it wasn't. You didn't even know it was until literally like the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And the pressure, like the anxiety, like I felt claustrophobic watching that movie, but it was so good and so entertaining.
Yeah. And it had Ramona from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. She was good in that.
Mary Elizabeth
Winston. Yeah.
Winston, yeah.
And John
she did a good job in it. That movie, again, most of it takes place in one location, which can be tricky a lot of times because then your performers really need to keep everyone engaged and you need to add enough to the story to keep people engaged because you're literally in one location. You know, it's like, are you going to end up with like a Castaway or are you going to end up with open water? Which are like the two extremes of one location going good and bad.
Yeah.
And no, this one is really good. And I think the third in that Cloverfield world, the third movie was so bad that it kind of just turned people away from the entire series. And 10 Cloverfield Lane just kind of got lost in the rubble due to how bad the third one was.
The third one was in space, right?
Yeah, it was called something else.
I
think it started with a P or something like that. Paradox or something.
Yeah. And they're supposed to have like more that branched out, but John Goodman, I want to see more of these type of roles for John Goodman, like what he did with like The Big Lebowski. Don't do this Roseanne revival. You remember how he was latched onto that? Like, dude, don't give me that, man. Don't give me Safe, because John Goodman is a really, really good actor. He just doesn't do enough of these daring roles, in my opinion. Like, I want to see more of them because the dude turns it in, man. Like, he's still recognizable because he's John Goodman, but his delivery, his acting was unrecognizable in this film. He was really scary.
Yeah, he was
very scary.
Such a large presence. And yeah, he's a big dude, but he played it that way too, though. Like, he was just hovering over like just this huge dark presence. Like, to me, when I think about Cloverfield and I think about the giant monster alien, he was the giant monster alien in this movie.
Her.
Right, exactly.
To her. And that's always the question is he truthful and is he trying to protect her or is he not? And that's the dilemma that you're faced as a viewer. You're right there with her. Is he telling the truth or is he not?
Yeah.
And that's what makes the ending so good. So we won't spoil it, but really good.
I remember watching it and I flipped back and forth where it was like, oh, this guy's lying. Although, no, wait a second. But maybe he's lying. And I just kept going back and forth.
I still don't know. I can't remember, or it was so good. I'm like, wait, did he do it on purpose? I don't remember.
Well, the answer's there, but you just need to rewatch it.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember.
There you go. I went with the movie Audition. I think I mentioned in one other episode before, but it's like a Japanese movie. Basically, it's about a guy that's recently divorced. his friend talks him into starting like a fake casting call for like a movie, like he's a producer, just to audition these different actresses, but choose one that he wants to sleep with and use like, hey, I'm a producer, so that way he can sleep with the actresses. So he goes through it and he finds one that he locks in on that he likes. She's crazy and she's nuts. So when she starts to find out that it's a ruse, she ties them up and the tables turn. And it becomes like a good cat and mouse game in that. And it's really good. It's directed very well. Good pacing, but it's very suspenseful.
Is it gory?
This is not for the squeamish.
Okay,
not for
this one.
Very gory.
If you're not into torture porn movies, it's probably not the movie for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And even though I haven't seen Terrifier or Terrifier 2, I'm assuming they're very different, because it seems like with Terrifier or Terrifier 2, sometimes when you get like those really gory porn movies, they're just showing you gratuitous violence and gore just as like like you're watching, you're getting hyped for it. This one's not. They play more with like the gross, squeamish, kind of like how Misery was. Remember how when he was tied up and then she comes in with the hammer and gets his ankles? It's like that. It comes in at these really gross moments, and it makes you squeam. So, okay. Let's go with our last category, comedy.
And I feel this movie, every time I watch it, I'm still laughing at it. I think it's terribly underrated, but it'd be a Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Okay.
And so this movie does a good job of kind of blending its like horror comedy in it. It's really funny, and then even I can respect the way it was filmed, because basically you've got your bad guys, well, at least the ones that one party thinks are the bad guys, and then you have your good guys in there. When it's from the perspective of the bad guys, Tucker and Dale, it's filmed in a certain way. It's a lighter way. It's filmed more as a comedy, and the way it's presented. And then when it's from the perspective of the young, college students and things like that, it's filmed as a horror movie, and you see the atmosphere changes. It's darkened up a little bit. So when it's switching back and forth, depending on the perspective, I thought that was really well done. On top of it just being hilarious all around. So it's one every once in a while I'll rewatch again, and I'm still laughing at it.
Nice. I actually haven't seen it.
I've heard it.
I've heard it referenced a lot. It's one that when I see like hillbillies, that automatically I'm kind of turned off from that kind of. I'm not.
We've talked about this. Like we could smell it. We're in there.
I don't identify with that type of humor, so I don't get it. So when you see like Larry the Cable Guy, his comedy.
Did you see Joe Dirt?
Joe Dirt, yeah, that stuff doesn't get me like that. Now, I'm not saying this is that. It's just when I saw the posters or the clips, that's what it looks like to me. But I've heard a lot of people tell me it's funny, so it's one that I'm definitely going to give it a shot.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. That's the thing. It plays into that. It's more like a horror parody, and it kind of parodies, horror. Those type of horror movies where you have the hillbillies and they're killers and they eat people and all of this stuff. It plays into that, and it uses that to parody those type of movies.
Nice. Okay. I'll have to check it out.
He's not going to check it out.
I'll try. I just got to remember the title. That's it.
That's why I'm not going to insult you like that, Jose. I'm not checking it out. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just like,
I'm not going to check it out.
Yeah, I'm not checking it out. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not even going to.
Yeah, cool. He's sending me 7 exclamation points to check Glenn Close, whatever.
Glenn Close.
Barberry Close. What was it? Barberry Glenn Close or something?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
All right, Chuck, hit us with your movie.
Love this movie. It's a classic, especially if you love the actor. You get to see him in 4 different roles. Multiplicity with Michael Keaton, directed by Harold Ramis. Like, so good, so funny. And like I said, you get to see Michael Keaton literally play 4 different characters. He plays one, which is the normal dude. He plays kind of like a hard ass, the worker. His next clone was at the home, so he's a little femme. And then the 4th clone he plays, they made a copy of one of the clones. So this one, he's a little special, is how they say it in the movie, and it's so good. If you guys haven't watched it, watch it, and especially if you love Michael Keaton, he kills it in this role.
Dude, I saw that when I was a kid, and it was hilarious. I just haven't seen it since, and it's one of those ones
Yeah.
like I want to go back to because
Same
Michael
here.
Keaton is a stud, man. Like he's a phenomenal actor, and you're right. I just wanted to go back to him when we watch it.
Yeah, it's still good. I watched it
Yeah.
like a week ago, and I'm like
Nice.
laughing, like
Yeah.
quotable, very quotable movie too. So.
Yeah. So the one I went with, I had a different movie in mind, but I just rewatched this movie last night, and I was cracking up again. Swiss Army Man.
Of course. I wonder why.
It's directed by the Daniels who did Everything Everywhere All at Once, but Paul Dano is freaking so good in this role. It's like what you said, Jose, where it can go either Castaway or it can go Open Water. This one went Castaway. So it's Paul Dano and even has Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter. So the premise is that he's stuck on this island and a dead body washes up, which is Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe. But the body helps him, like when he first gets it, the body has all this flatulence and farts. So he rides it like a jet ski to go to this next island. Then all these things keep happen where he's in these situations, but the body helps him. Like he does like a karate chop to break wood. But when he starts talking to the dead body and he starts going a little crazy, there's this funny scene where Daniel Radcliffe doesn't like know anything. Like it's almost like his memory is wiped clean. So he's trying to explain things to him, and he starts humming the Jurassic Park theme song. So Daniel Radcliffe joins with him, and he goes, "It's Jurassic Park." He goes, "You know Jurassic Park?" He goes, "What's Jurassic Park?" He grabs him by the face and says, "If you don't know Jurassic Park, you don't know shit." That line in itself
That's
is
just so different than
hilarious. And like the movie is so ridiculous. It's so over the top. But this is the second time I watched it, and I laugh out loud watching the movie. It's so stupid, but in the best of ways. And it's Paul Dano. Paul Dano is a really good actor.
Paul Dank.
Yeah.
Paul Dank.
Yeah, Paul Dank.
Paul Dank.
His acting's so good, it's dank.
It's Dank.
Yeah.
No, I've seen Paul Dano is a good actor. I haven't seen that. I remember seeing the trailer and I'm like, this looks very over the top. I don't know if it would interest me. But I mean, you check out Tucker and Dale. If you do that,
Deal.
I will check out this
Deal.
Swiss Army Dead Body Weekend at Bernie's. Man.
Dude, seriously, I'll do it. I'll match it with you, and we'll live tweet it because we haven't done that in a while.
I'm not watching either of your guys' movies. Not that you asked,
but you have to watch Glengarry Glen Ross now.
I'm not watching a play, Dan.
You didn't present any movies that I haven't seen, Chuck. So that's why you're not part of the deal.
That's fine.
All right, good. So our last one, let's do a wild card. Let's name off one more movie that's underappreciated that you just want to give a shout out to. Hit us, Chuck.
The Arrival with Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner. Again, almost flawless. Beautiful, beautiful movie. I cry every time. The soundtrack's amazing. I'm going all down on this. The acting is amazing. The cinematography is freaking beautiful. It's a great movie to watch and super dramatic, and you're going to cry at the end. Watch it.
So you said it's almost flawless. What makes it not flawless?
I just wanted one more alien. I don't know.
Dude, the aesthetic.
There was no xenomorph.
Yeah. The aesthetic designs of the aliens, like these giant hand-looking things, was just like, oh my god, it was so scary.
Yeah, and so just some of the shots. I don't really notice stuff like that sometimes, but like some of the long shots they had, like you're just looking at, and it's just earth, it's land, it's grass, but it's beautiful. It really is. It really is, though, especially if you got a nice fancy TV like I do.
Me too.
Yeah.
Jose, you do too.
My wild card, I'm going to have to go with Jojo Rabbit.
Yes.
This is a movie that the people I've talked to that have seen it have said it's good and know it's good. But there's so many people who haven't watched it, haven't heard about it, or they have heard about it and then they hear the concept of it and they're like, no, that sounds terrible. Why do I want to see a movie about a kid with imaginary friend Hitler in it? And they get turned off right away, right off the concept, but it's definitely worth the watch. So good, so underrated. I just rewatched it again like a month ago and did not lose any of its luster. Still really good. It's Taika at his best.
Yeah. And it plays off of like ironic comedy where you even have Taika, who's Jewish, playing Hitler. And when they interviewed him, they asked, "Are you sure you don't want to try to get some?" He goes, "No, this is like the ultimate fu to Hitler. He's being played by a Jewish person." It's like, that's so good, man. I loved it.
And what's good about it is like it's really funny. There's a lot of moments that you're laughing throughout, but then it hits some serious themes, and it actually has some in your feel moments, especially towards the end, where they hit pretty hard. You're like, wow, like he just did a complete 180, had me laughing, and then now I'm like, oh man, I kind of feel bad for laughing so much during this movie. Like the swings, the emotional swings the movie gives you are really good.
Yeah. So the movie I went with was Kingpin, Fairley Brothers movie, but Bill effin Murray, that might be my favorite performance from him because he has so many, but like the hair hanging, Woody Harrelson was phenomenal in this. That was the first thing that I saw where I'm like, he could be a leading man, and I've never seen him as a leading man role like this. The movie is great. It is like genius. They play with it. It really is, and they play with it so well. But the dynamics of Bill Murray and Woody Harrelson is great. And I just remember one funny joke that's so stupid where when Woody Harrelson is walking in with Randy Quaid, and it's like that big, the big bowling event. They're walking in and they're playing the music, and he looks like a cool badass walking through, and he sees a guy walking by with a pizza slice, so he grabs it and takes a bite, and the guy's like, hey, no, and he takes it back, and the movie stops.
Yeah, because in the opening, he was the man. So he walks into the bowling alley, he drinks a beer, he grabs somebody pizza, and the guy's just like, oh yeah, take my pizza.
Yeah.
And then later on, he does it again. The guy's like, what's your problem, man?
And he just takes it back from him, and the song stops, and he's like, oh. It's like...
Just real quick, when they're interviewing him, they're like, so what have you been doing the last 15 years? He's well, I've been drinking, and then I was also and then there was that other drinking.
He had nothing.
He's all, but I'm all done with that now. I'm all done with that. He's all, you're done? He's all, why, you buying?
It's so genius, the comedy. And this is when the Fairley Brothers was like still at their peak, in my opinion. So even though when they had there's Something About Mary, this was still in the realm to me as that level of how good and humorous it was. It just doesn't get the same love that
it got lost in there because they had Dumb and Dumber, then they did Kingpin, and then they did Something About Mary, and that blew up, right? Blew up that people forgot just how classic like Kingpin was. It was so good.
Yeah, the other two had the higher commercial success and kind of overshadowed it.
Yeah, but that 3-picture window right there, they were just so genius. Like it rivals so many other of the best, in my opinion, of comedic directors. That 3-picture run was so epic, so good. But that's one. So shout out. Thank you for watching another episode. Please like, comment, subscribe, share on our YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. You can listen to us to anywhere you listen to your podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, Not a Strong Start. I'm your host, In the Mouth of Danis. You can follow me at King_Sangre.
I am Why Won't You Love Me? And you can find me at This Is Mi Nombre on Instagram.
You can find me at Chad Radwell, and I'm still don't know what he's talking about. And also,
I don't either. That's where is this from?
Is it just a line, or is it like you're all the movies that we talked about, and you're like, why won't you love me?
Right? We're talking about movies that didn't get enough love.
I thought it was from I thought you were quoting a movie that is.
I mean, I'm sure it's been said in movies before.
The Crying Game could have been said in The Crying Game,
or The Pianist.
Pianist.
It's a pianist, right?
The Pianist. Yes. Yeah. So there you go.
One syllable away from being flaggable.